What's going down, H-Town? Uh, no, like I said, normally I'll do my Texan thoughts, man, but my original video of this got deleted. You know what I'm saying? It was saying it was having a problem uploading to YouTube, so I'm redoing it. As I said in my last video, welcome back to my boy Ray Ray. Um, like I said, and like I said, shout out to my boy Ray Ray, man. I'm just glad to see him back on the YouTube scene. Him and his son. JJ, shout out to him. Um, but yeah, in this video, man, I'm gonna be talking about how the moves that should simply be made. I'm I really don't remember all that I put in my last video. Sad to say, but I'm gonna redo it, keep it fresh. Some for y'all and whatnot. But no, the moves that should have been made. Knowing that you're going to go and get a rookie quarterback. Like I said, in it comes down to the draft. GMs constantly exhaust themselves by doing homework on players and whatnot, and the good, well, I'm not gonna say the good, every scout, they start gathering their intel and information before the seasons and all that. But I mean, like I said, when it's actually come time to draft a player and whatnot, they have their board and all that. I feel like teams need, like, look at the teams that are having success. Like, take Atlanta last year, for instance. They combine the fact that they have a good quarterback with a few free agent moves while drafting. Even though they didn't draft on the offensive side of the, well, no, actually they did, because they got that tight end. But I think he was like in the third. Austin Hooper. I think they got him like in the third round. But I mean, just looking at their philosophy and how they got to the Super Bowl. Yes, Matty Ice, he carried them as far as his arm could get them, which was to the Super Bowl, to unfortunately lose to the Pats. But like I said, just look at that team and what they did. They signed the right free agents, and it didn't really cost them a lot of money to bring in, Mohamed Sanu and all those other guys. Like I said, on the defensive side of the ball, they went and drafted Vic Beasley, a few other young, defensive guys, that can step in and impact the game, for them, not only immediately, but for the future, and that's what I feel like Houston should really take a look at. Now, one thing that, like I said, looking at certain positions on our team outside of quarterback and fullback, I can at least name one move that could have been made to help this team out. And let's go. Let's do that. Like I said, starting at the tight end position. And I'm glad that I continuously and vigorously do homework like I do, what I'm saying, to come across these type of things. If there was ever a time where, like I said, looking at what Bill O'Brien's last few press conferences and whatnot, coaching is teaching. And last time I checked, nothing is better than getting, it's one thing to get a rookie with, subpar talent, and he does okay for himself, but it's another to go and get a guy like Watson, and then, as your quarterback, it's one thing to get Watson as your quarterback, and then, like I said, if you're a GM, you gotta have these, be willing to ask yourself these questions and also be able to have an answer. Now, well, at least I knew that the Texans O-line wasn't as good as it was supposedly made out to be. And this was after the draft. I like the fact that we went and got that dude Ja Reed. But like I said, it doesn't really, that move doesn't become an effective move and really until Dwayne Brown decides he wants to come back. Because like I said, looking at our offensive line, there were moves that Houston could have made to bolster and upgrade the line, but they didn't. They stuck to their guns, you know, and they ended up getting Kyle Fuller and Julian Davenport. Now, both guys I did a lot of homework on coming out of the, coming out of the draft, and productive players. They're pretty decent linemen. I'm not gonna sit here and just name them unanimous Pro Bowlers for the foreseeable future. They have their learning curve and their growth development that they have to come get across and whatnot. But I say this dude Ja Reed that they brought in. I personally feel like with Dwayne back at left tackle and Ja Reed at left guard, you talk about a mean, nasty combination right there. Not to mention, you can go down the rest of the line with Nick Martin, Greg Manson, Julian Davenport. Those would be the starting five as your offensive line. Now, I say, looking at the overall success of a team, like this is the oldest cliche as far as football goes. You don't win if you don't win in the trenches. Plain and simple. Looking at what the move we made in this draft, if we can't magically score some offensive linemen that are Brooks Reed like, I don't honestly see them, using Dallas's formula and using a first round pick, which we don't have, on linemen. Now, like I said, if you're looking, and like my boy Ray Ray said, if you think you can go on, although I wouldn't recommend it, if you think you can go on without Dwayne Brown, trade him to a team to where you can get you a asset back for him, a young, valuable asset. Like I said, if the trade for right now, if anything, like I said, if you want to maximize what you can get for Brown, at least try to get you a second round pick from, like I said, if not a second round pick, at least, call Pittsburgh and say, hey, we'll give you Dwayne Brown and a later round pick for Martavis Bryant. Boom. Trade done. Now you have a surefire offensive weapon that can go alongside of DeAndre Hopkins. Now, mind you, I've been saying it all this time, and I've, that Martavis Bryant has Julio-ish like talent, but not, like I said, going back and, continuously doing more homework on him, this kid physically, now, remember, I'm only saying this from a physical standpoint. Height, weight, speed factor. Randy Moss is what comes to mind when I think of this kid. Now, we all know Randy Hot Dandy. All he had to do was start running and put his hand up, and if Dante Culpepper, got it to him in time, it was odds are it was a one-play touchdown. Now, granted, Bryant doesn't have that pure raw speed that Moss has, that Moss had. But when you look at, okay, put it like this. Look at the Pittsburgh's best wide receiver, which is Antonio Brown. And then you look at, like I said, from a talent and physical wise, Antonio Brown is shifty, he's hard to cover, and he's fast. And personally, I think that Martavis Bryant is faster than him. And that's saying a lot. Not only is he faster, but like I said, when you look at from a wide receiver standpoint, he can just physically do more than Antonio Brown, and that's what makes them a perfect 1-2 punch. Now, the reason why I want Houston to kind of bust, I ain't gonna say kind of, the reason why I want Houston to bust that trade, because Martavis Bryant, he's still young and raw, even though he's 25. You know, I just would love for him to, get, be on the same, be in the same room with DeAndre Hopkins, with Hopkins, showing him the ins and outs of, how he gets open and how he breaks free and whatnot. And oh my goodness, you talking about taking a true offensive leap with just that one trade alone. We can easily go from scoring 13 points to at least 27 to 30 points a game. And last time I checked, if you want to get to the Super Bowl, if you want to be able to beat teams to get to the Super Bowl, you want to beat a team like New England, you got to score at least 25 points or more. Like, that's just calling for what it is. Now, like I said, some teams, they have better defensive performances than others. Now if you can score 25 points and keep New England from scoring 25 points, yeah, you got a good chance at winning the game. But let's just call it for what it is. That's Bill Belichick in that offense. I don't think that's really going to happen. So like I said, you got to go out and you get the players necessary that can not only do the job physically, but from a teaching aspect, you know that they're prepared mentally for what they're up against. Like I said, I would much rather go to war and be able to coach an athlete versus a particular player, that a regular player at that position. I would much rather Bill O'Brien be coaching, Ladarius Green or Bucky Hodges, you know what I'm saying, who was waived by the Vikings. I would much rather have him, from what he calls the teaching aspect, I would much rather have him teaching, those guys versus, trying to make it work with Ryan Griffin, who has done nothing for you but drop passes and get hurt and probably leave tip balls in the air for defenders to get them. And that's not going to cut it. That's not going to win you championships. Plain and simple. But coming up on 13 minutes, as usual, like, sub, and peace. And as to my boy Ray Ray, welcome back, man.